estate agent, Brandon Barkema. In this video, I'm going to show you how to change out your outlets. So you may have had an item come up on an inspection report where there's a loose outlet or reverse polarity, ungrounded, things of that nature. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to deal with those issues that may have come up. So things we're going to need, I highly recommend a GFCI tester. You can get them at your local hardware store. They're about $10 or so. Obviously, if we're changing out the outlet, we're going to need an outlet. These are the older round ones. We're going to go with the more modern square one here. Really all we should need is a flathead screwdriver and maybe a smaller tip flathead screwdriver to pop out the wires. I have a pencil tester. Needle nose pliers are really good, or wire strippers, depending on what we have behind the box here. But we'll probably need small flathead screwdriver, the tester, and the outlet. So first things first, we'll have to take the cover off and see what's behind there. Alright, so this tester here tells us a bunch of different things. If it is a bad ground, open neutral, open hot, hot ground reversed, hot neutral reversed, or if it's correct. So first thing we do is plug this in. Green basically means it's correct, and the top would be the same as well unless it was a split outlet. So what we want to do first is make sure we shut the power off, and of course if you do not feel comfortable messing with electrical, it'd be good to hire a professional to do this for you. But let's go upstairs, go to the breaker box, and we'll shut off the breaker. Alright, so here we have the breaker box. We want to shut off the outlet downstairs. As you can see, there's quite a few different breakers here. So luckily they have labeled all these and they're pretty correct. So we need to find the downstairs one. And we have lights basement, kitchen plugs, bathroom plugs basement, 25 and 27. So let's try going over here, and it looks like they added something out sometime and didn't correct this. I'm guessing it's probably one of these two. Let's try that, and we'll see if the tester has told us it's turned off. So this means it's off, this means it's on. Sometimes you'll see they'll be about halfway. That means that they've tripped a breaker. Either there's been some sort of short circuit, or you used too much power on one line and it tripped the breaker to protect the whole line. If that's the case, you push it all the way to the left or off, all the way on, and it'll be back on. If it keeps tripping, there's more problems and you should have someone come and look at it. But for now, let's just see if that was the right one. Alright, well that was not the right one. Instead of have you guys watch me run up and down the stairs 100 times figuring out which one it is, figured we'd just skip ahead. So as you can see, no lights means that it is off. So now we can take this apart without fear of getting electrocuted. So we'll take this out. Looks like they put some plastic spacers behind it to pull it away from the box a little bit. So I'd say these, you might need them again. Basically what these are is it's a spacer to bring the outlet away from the box, so when you put a wall plate cover on, it's flush. Some people bend these tabs down to do that, but these spacers work just as well. So we'll pull this out. This is actually a very, very simple one. We have neutral, which is the white one, hot, which is your black one, and your ground wire. So that's it. Some of them may have additional wires if they're daisy chaining from one to the next outlet, but this one's very simple to do. So first thing we do is we're going to unscrew these two guys here. And as you can see, very important when you put them on that they loop clockwise, so when you tighten it, it'll cinch this down and pull it tighter. If you do it the other way, it'll actually loosen the wire, and then you can cause arcing and other things. So just be sure. And as you can see, this is why you want the outlet turned off, because we're touching hot wires now. Alright, so the ground wire, which is just your bare copper. And we'll take the new outlet here. So this is the new outlet we're going to put in. There's a couple colors. You have silver, brass, and green. So one thing to easily remember is black goes to brass, your white or neutral goes to your silver or whitish looking one, and then green to ground. So black to brass, green to ground, white to your white or silver. So since we only have one, I personally like to tighten these up since we're only using one. We'll tighten the other one up just so it's not sticking out because it's not needed. If there was daisy chained wires here, you'd have these two connect together, so it doesn't matter, there's no top or bottom in this case. What you can do is if you had a split outlet where maybe the top was controlled by an outlet and the bottom was always on, these you can actually pop out. We're not going to do it, but we can take these off, take these out, and then you have a split outlet at that point. But right now they're connected together, so it doesn't matter. There's no top or bottom. Alright, so another option, if you have smaller wire, you can also just push them directly in here if they're 14 gauge. These are a little thicker. This is 12 gauge wire, so they won't fit in these holes. So we do have to wrap them around the screw head. So again, making sure that the wire itself loops clockwise. So when we tighten it down, it'll grab this and tighten it even more so. If we do it the other way, it loosens it. So you see how it pulls it tighter as I tighten this up. So it tightens on itself. I'll show you what it looks like if you don't do it the right way. So if we go the wrong way, keep in mind it will still likely work, but you can cause arcing and other things, and it loosens it. So as we tighten this down, it's actually pulling the end of it away from it, which in turn makes this longer. So that's why you want to make sure you do it clockwise. In this case, I'll take my needle nose pliers here just to loop it up a little bit better. Alright, that's done. And just one left is the ground, which is very important as well. And it's good to check your outlets too in your house. If you buy a new house, I would recommend getting one of these just to go and check your outlets, because things like fans and stuff like that will still work even if you're reversed, you're black, you're hot, and you're white, you're neutral. If you reversed them, some things will still work, but a lot of sensitive electronics, it'll ruin them. So for, like I said, about $10, you can go and test your outlets to make sure they are wired up correctly before plugging in any expensive electronic items. All right. Now, you can also, there's some outlets I've done upstairs that have the USB ports, that it's pretty much the same exact way to put those outlets in as these. GFCI or ground fault circuit interrupters are a little different, so I'll show you how to do those on a more complicated system. But for now, if you're just changing out receptacles, pretty much it. If you have two sets of white wires, you just plug them both in, one on top, one on bottom, and you'd have two blacks or two hots, so you'd do the same thing there. And you would just have one ground wire that would likely be connected in the back with one pigtail coming out. But that would just be if they were daisy chained from one to the other. This one is on the end of a line. So, now the reason they had the spacers is because I don't know if you can see that, but if we don't use the spacers, the metal piece here is not flush. So when I put the wall plate cover on, this will be recessed. So, like I said, some people just take these, bend these down to get them to stick out. Other people, I like using these spacers personally just because I can get them really tight and I don't have to worry about them loosening them up over time. You can get them at your hardware store. They're in with the electrical section, like your pigtails and stuff like that. And they just, the plastic spacers, you can kind of put almost as many as you want together. So like if you did backsplash in your kitchen, a lot of times if that was added, they have a different thickness to it, so you have to space the screws out some. You don't want to over tighten these because you'll strip them, but just make sure that you can also adjust them a little bit left and right to make them a little more plumb or centered up. Alright, just get these just tight enough. And then I need to grab my wall plate cover because the old one won't work. These are just nylon. They make unbreakable ones. You can get fancier ones as well. Kind of up to you on your style that you want. I'll just. Alright, so these screws go into that slot and that one there. And you may have to play around with them a little bit and adjust them if they don't sit quite right. When I'm finished with these, I like to have them all up and down. So you don't want to over tighten them. But I finish with those going up and down just because, I don't know, OCD I guess. Unconfirmed OCD. Alright, so I might play around with this a little bit, but for the sake of what we've done, it is leaning a little bit. Probably can't notice that well. But now we'll go turn on the breaker, and this will tell us if we wired it up correctly. If we didn't, it will light up differently. So let's go see. This is also a tamper-proof outlet, so kids can't take something in here and stick it in and get electrocuted like we did when we were little. You have to have two prongs that depress at the same time in order to use it. So anyway, I'll go turn the breaker on and we'll see if it works. Alright, we got a green light, so everything's wired up correctly. Since we only have the two wires, it's not a split outlet, they'll both be the same. But there's your verification, and everything's working again. So if you have multiple outlets, you can go through and just do them all at the same time, test them all, and go from there. Alright, on to the next project.